Yeah, good stuff. So, glasses on. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Scottsdale Big Book Study, where we will study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today's date is Saturday, and it's the 31st of January. My name is Johan, and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater. I'm from Sweden. I will be your host for today's study. We have co-hosts today. We have Tammy, we have Nancy, and I think Tonya G is gonna be here somewhere to do the Q&A. If you have any questions during the meeting, please contact either myself or any of the co-hosts by private message in the chat function. The chat function will be disabled 5 minutes before the questions and answers session. Please note that our speaker, Harlan G, will be recorded for the duration of the study. However, the questions and answer session, which follows, will not be recorded. We ask if you can please make sure to keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's meeting, during today's study. And also please turn off your video if you're exercising, eating, or if you need to step away from your screen for any reason. During the meeting, we will post a link to our 7 tradition. This money goes towards the cost of our Zoom account, the cost of uploading our recordings, and we also send contributions to our intergroup, Arizona Serenity in the Desert Intergroup, ASDI, and World Service Organization. We will post a link to the previous week's recordings. These are available by clicking on the link that are posted in the chat box. So, here we are, once again, Saturday. With the man, the myth, the legend, the only one, Harlan G. Take it away, man.
Thank,
Let's go.
thank you, Mr. Thank you, Yuan. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. We're going to get started when we do on page 73, where it says psychologists are inclined to agree with us. That's page 73. But I just want to talk to you for just a second about how vital step 5 is. You know, I grew up like any of us where I was so ashamed of my fat body. I believed in my soul that the way that I ate and the way that I thought about food and the way I reacted to the world around me, I believed were secret and unique unto me. Now, the reason that I believe that is because my ego has 3 jobs, and boy, does it do these jobs well. The ego has 3 jobs. Make me right. Did you ever listen to alcoholics or compulsive overeaters? They could tell you 2 and 2 is 71, and they will fight to the death to tell you how right that is. Or they'll tell you that whatever, the earth is flat, or rabbits can do algebra, or whatever it is they're going to tell you, they're going to defend it to the hilt. Make me right. Make me feel good right now. That's why so many of us, we can't imagine how powerful that is. We see evidences of that all around us, and we don't attribute it to the massive egos that we have. Make me feel good right now. I know I'm significantly overweight. I know that I've been in trouble with food. I know that I'm well over 5, 6, 700 pounds, but I'm going to eat this candy right now because I want to feel good right now and let everything else be damned, and I'll worry about it tomorrow. How many of us have thrown candy down our throat, or thrown pizza or French fries, or just food we know we didn't even want to eat, that it was not in our best interest to eat this food, and yet we waved our hands and said, F it, F it, and we picked up the food and put it in our mouth. And when that effect took us over, oh, we just didn't care. But by then, the allergy takes over and we cannot control the amount we eat. And what is the last job of the ego? Not that it's last, but what is the third job of the ego? Make me different from everybody else. So the three jobs of the ego in review are: make me feel good right now, make me right, and make me different from everybody else. And in keeping with the third one, make me different from everybody else, I believed that there was no one on earth that understood the way I ate, or the way I thought about food, or the way I was ashamed of food eating. That's a terrible sentence. The way I was ashamed of the size that I was. There was no one else that had the type of dysfunction in their thinking because of this disorder. I believe that no one else could understand. And I continued that even after I came to OA in February. February 2nd is going to be Monday. February 2nd is Monday. And on February the 2nd, 1979, it was a Friday evening, and it was a freezing cold Friday evening. And I lived in Chicago, but I went to Skokie, and I went to a meeting at the Orchard Mental Health Center. See, God likes to laugh too. And that was 47 years ago on Monday, February 2nd. And February 2nd is also George Halas's birthday, which is the founder of the Bears, and it's Groundhog's Day. But it was the day that I first came to an OA meeting. But I've got to make a confession to you. For the first maybe year that I was in OA, almost a year that I was in OA, I also believe that even though you were sitting in the room with me, my massive ego would not allow me to let in the thought that, like me, you were also a compulsive overeater. You see, you had thinner bodies than me. I outweighed everybody in those rooms by about 300 pounds or more. I outweighed all these people. And I was also 30, 40 years younger than any of them. I came in, I was 24 years of age. And it was a Thursday night around Thanksgiving time, December time, and I came in February. It was a Thursday night, and I was at a meeting at Swedish Covenant Hospital. And there was a woman named Della. She's still around, not on our Scottsdale meetings so much, but she's still around in Chicago, in the northern suburbs. And she told her story that night. And there was about 150 people there. See, our meetings used to be very big because we had attendance from people in the treatment centers. And then the insurance companies pulled the funding because no one was recovering. And our meetings went from 200 people to 8 or 14 overnight. Well, this was in the days when we were very strong. And Della F. was telling her story in the northern suburbs of Chicago. And she got up there and she had a beautiful, like very beautifully put together. I don't notice stuff like that, but the other women used to comment on how beautifully put together she was. I don't really notice purses and earrings and stuff. That stuff gets way past me. I don't care about it. I don't notice it, but they used to talk about it. So I'll believe them. What did I have in common with Della? Nothing. I was a Jewish fat boy. She was a Roman Catholic housewife in Chicago on the north side. She had 2 little children and a husband. And she got up there, and maybe it was the timing, or maybe it was whatever it was. I don't know. And she got up there and she told her story. And she talked about buying the Halloween candy 3, 4, 5 times. And she talked about baking for parties and eating everything she baked. She talked about midnight raids on her refrigerator. She talked about getting up in the middle of the night because she could no longer sleep, knowing that there was cake or cookies or whatever, ice cream in the house. And some way, somehow, something happened in my little brain that said, I am not alone. That there's at least this person that completely gets me, because she, although I had to divorce myself from her exteriors, she didn't look like me. She didn't, she didn't break furniture and she didn't get stuck in cars. But she, as a housewife, female, Catholic, nothing in common with me at all, got up there on that Thursday night at Swedish Covenant Hospital and told the story of my life. Wow. Oh my God. Wow. There's another one of me. It would be like you or I landing on Neptune. And somehow the spaceship got off course. We were supposed to go to Mars. We ended up on Neptune. And we figure, oh my God, we're screwed. There's no one here. And all of a sudden, it was like Stanley finding Livingston. It was like, I don't know who finding, you found another kindred spirit in the world. Something else happened that night, and something else kept happening as the time went on, 47 years ago. In my day, when I first came into OA, we always sat theater style. Now, do you know what I mean by theater style? There was a podium or a table at the front of the room. Sometimes they had a microphone and an amplifier, and sometimes they did not. But they always had theater style seating in those days. You didn't sit in a circle, you did like you see now. You didn't sit around a table like sometimes you'll see now. If you've ever been to the OA birthday, or you've ever been to Vision Convention, or you've ever been to any convention, we sit theater style there too. There's a speaker at the front and everybody is facing the speaker. Now, you couldn't just raise your hand to speak in those days. I'm giving you a little OA history in case you haven't been around for as long as me. You had to go up physically to the front of the room. In some meetings, you had to be sponsored in that meeting to share. In some meetings, you couldn't share unless they called on you. And in other meetings, which were more looser, you could just share by going up to the front of the room, getting in line, and they took you by whoever was in line could share. This was one of the meetings at Swedish. All of our meetings at Swedish Covenant were you got up, you went to the front, and if you wanted to, you could share. No matter who your sponsor was, everybody knew in those days who your sponsor was. Everybody. It was very common. Hey, who's your sponsor? Joe Blow. Who's your sponsor? Sally Schmo or whatever. It was very common knowledge. But anyway, person after person after person. Now, I had heard these people sharing before, but for some reason that night, it got through to me that every one of the people that were complimenting Della on her lead, we called it a lead in those days. You didn't call it a share or a talk. You called it a lead. They were complimenting her on her lead. And what was happening is, as they started to share, even though I had heard these people umpteen times, I started noticing that, like Della, even though they didn't look like me, they were telling my life story. And the idea that these thoughts, these fears, these shames were secret unto me fell like rain from the sky. I'm not going to say I had a spiritual awakening that night. I'm not going to say I recovered as of that night. I'm not going to say I recovered because of this. I'm going to say that it was what I call a profound epiphany. A profound epiphany that there are people in the world that are like me. Maybe they look like me. When I say they look like me, I mean, are they as heavy as me? Maybe they don't, and that's okay. Maybe they were anorexic. Maybe they were bulimic. Maybe they were small. Maybe whatever. Maybe they were whatever they were. But when they thought about food, or they reacted to their thoughts about food by eating it or purging it or whatever, I am no longer alone. The reason that step 5 is one of the great emancipators is because it tells me, and hopefully the person that we're sponsoring or our sponsor, it tells us that there are others like us in the world and that we are not alone. Now, I don't know how it is for you. I don't know. For me, the thought that says to me, or the thought that creeps into my head, that there are other people who understand is one of the most comforting thoughts I can have. I don't have any comfort in knowing that I am such an odd duck, that I am not like any of you. I don't take comfort in that. I take comfort in the fact that I am one of many. And if you're new to OA, I'm going to use an old OA expression. I found out I'm just another bozo on the bus. I'm another bozo on the bus is not in any way derogatory, although I love Bozo Circus, watched it every day at noon. Bozo and Ringmaster Ned and Oliver O. Oliver were like fathers to me when I was a kid. They were so great. But the bottom line is that another bozo on the bus is not in any way, shape, or form derogatory. All that means is I'm one of many. I'm just another camper on the camp bus. I'm another fourth grader on the school bus. That's all that means. It's a comforting thought because what it gives me is it gives me something I have craved my whole life, and that is fellowship. I have many friends that go back all the way to grammar school with me. I am awaiting the arrival here in Arizona of two gentlemen I have known since 1959 when we started kindergarten at Green Grammar School on Devon and Whipple in West Rogers Park, Chicago. We started kindergarten together on September 7th, 1959. We have been friends since that time. And they're coming here, and we're going to love on one another, and we're going to have a wonderful time, and we're going to talk about the dumb things we did and the teachers, and we're going to imitate the teachers, and we're going to imitate all the other kids, and we're just going to have a great old time. And we're going to tell stories that we have told for 60 years, 60 some years. But they don't understand. There's nothing in them that understands why anybody in their right mind would eat a third sandwich or a second sandwich or a 20th potato chip. They take a potato chip or 8 of them and they're done. And when they're done with their food, they're done. There's food sitting in front of them. It could be whatever you like French fries, ice cream, whatever it is, it's sitting in front of them. They're done. Now, what do they really think about me? Because they've watched, they think that all of a sudden I just got smart and I stuck to my diet this time instead of quitting my diet. I could sit and explain to them about my malady of the mind and the malady of the body that I have. And I might as well try to get them to understand nuclear physics. I might as well try to get a river otter to play the saxophone. I would have better luck with the otter. Maybe he would learn how to play a few notes. I've explained it to him 40,000 times. You know what I say to them now? Hey, let's get to the Cub game. Let's do this. I don't even entertain it. I don't even entertain it because there's no sense to it. They think that I was stupid because I didn't see how fat I was getting. They thought that I was not aware of how big I was and that somehow I've had an epiphany and now I'm smart. I used to be stupid. Now I'm smart. That's what they think. And these are highly successful men that are not stupid. But you can't. Bill Wilson said at the end of his life, and we'll get to page 73 here in just a minute, page 73, the psychologists. Bill Wilson said near the end of his life, he said, to those who understand, no explanation is necessary. To those who do not understand, none is plausible. Does that make sense? To those who understand, no explanation is necessary. To those who do not understand, none is plausible. I could no more explain this to them, as I say, than I could teach a otter to play the accordion. It just, there's no sense to it. So let's go to page 73 with that in mind. Oh, I just want to say one other thing. I have a friend of mine that lives in North Carolina. He's a great old guy, and I just love his shares on Vision. He's just great. And he said the other day something, and when I'm listening to Vision, usually I'm out walking. I'm not sitting here in my house listening. I'm out walking. He said, Overeaters Anonymous is the only organization that you can walk into a meeting and you don't know anybody in that room, and 20 minutes later, you're reminiscing. Think about that for just a second. We're reminiscing with each other about what it was like to eat or not. We're reminiscing about what the disease did to us, and we do not know it. There's an instant kinship. There's an instant denominator that draws us together. And for me, I'm a junkie for conventions. If I'm not at the OA birthday or I'm not at Vision, I'm either very sick or I'm dead. If I had to be dragged there, I'm going. Why? Because I want to be in the middle of the people that I love. Why do I love them? Yes, they're dear, wonderful people. They're wonderful people, but we have that common denominator that you cannot get, or I can't get anywhere else in the world. Let's go to page 73. We're in step 5. Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. Agree with what? That another alcoholic can get our confidence more than others. Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. I would get a diet from the doctor. Why were the diets always pink? Why do people assume that if you have a problem with food, you're female? I never understood that. I really never understood that. Go out of your house today. There's no overweight men. I never understood why it is assumed that if a person is having a problem with their weight, that all of a sudden it is just assumed that the person is female. Never got that. I'm male. I've had a problem with my weight my whole life. I see men every day of my life with stomachs hanging out and my God, extreme morbid obesity. Never understood that. Okay. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance for recovery. I have a wonderful cardiologist. I'm so blessed to be living here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where the medical care is so good, so good. We have Mayo here, we have Honor Health, and we have Barrett Neurology. We have all kinds of medical care here that is just top drawer, top notch. And my cardiologist tells a story to me. He says, I'll get somebody coming in here, they're 300 pounds. I'll beg them to lose weight. I'll tell them how they're not going to live very long. They come in the next time, 6 months later, they're 350. They come in the next time at 400, and I never see them again because they're dead. He says, I've given up. He says, except for you, I don't have any success that I see in this area. The people that come to my practice do not listen to me. They do not listen to me. And I said to him, it's a disease, which I'm not sure he fully accepts. And he's a cardiologist. I'm not sure he follows that, or I think in order to really understand it, you have to be one of us. I note that there's one notable exception. There's one notable exception. Two notable exceptions. Two. Dr. Silkworth. He understood, without being an alcoholic, that the alcoholic mind is different than a normal mind. And Dr. Silkworth understood that the alcoholic body is different from the normal body as well. So Dr. Silkworth definitely got it. And Dr. Jung got it too. Dr. Jung, in my opinion, he just got it. And these people that got it, they are exceptions to the rule. So let's go back to page 73 with this in mind, and let's go to the very bottom of the page. We must be entirely honest with somebody if we, if we expect to live long or happily in this world, rightly and naturally. We think well before we choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and confidential step. Remember that we're talking about step 5, and it's very important to remember that we take step 5 with someone that's going to understand. Now, obviously, it's easier to find somebody that we can do step 5 with today than it was, in 1939 and 1935, because there's just so many more people that are working the steps. I can tell sometimes when I'm watching television or I'm watching a movie, I can tell if one of the writers is one of us, just sometimes by the phraseology. They'll say things like, they'll say things like strangely insane, which is my t-shirt that I'm wearing. This is one of my program t-shirts. It says strangely insane. Or they'll have phraseology that is common only to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So you can kind of tell. There was that show Mom on CBS, and you could see they talked about their sponsors and going to meetings. Anyway, back to step 5, page 74. I'm at the top of the page, guys. Those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must, and of course will want to go to the properly appointed authority whose duty it is to receive it. Now, there are a lot of people who are Roman Catholic, which is fantastic, and they believe they want to go to the priest to do step 5. There's nothing wrong with that. And the big book is telling you, feel free to do that if that is what's going to comfort you. But there are many priests who work a 12-step program. Try to seek them out would be my input, not my advice, but my input, because I think it's far better that you find somebody that understands this way of life than someone who doesn't. Let's keep going. Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with somebody ordained by an established religion. We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem. Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics. And again, there are people who really do not get at all what it is. And I told you this before. I'll tell you this just briefly again. I have many, many friends that I go back way back, all the way back to Green School in Chicago, from the 60s when Kennedy was president. And they think I just got smart rather than stayed stupid. They think somehow I had some sort of epiphany that made me stay on my diet. And that's a strange thing, because you think they really understand me. They've known me all my life and I've known them. But when it comes to this, they're judging me by themselves. They don't have this disease, so they can't understand. Again, it would be like me trying to teach an otter how to play the saxophone. It just isn't going to happen. So I stopped trying to explain it to them, to be honest with you. Page 74, middle of the page. If we cannot or would rather not do this, take step 5 with somebody like a clergyman or something, we search our acquaintances for a closed-mouth, understanding friend. Perhaps our doctor or psychologist will be the person. It may be one of our own family, but we cannot disclose anything to our wives or our parents which will hurt them and make them unhappy. We have no right to save our skin at another person's expense. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. That's very, very important. They understand, yet not be affected. Put a pin in that, because we're coming back to it. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Let's talk about that for just a second. I told you to put a pin in that. Now we're going to come back to it. And what is it that I told you to put a pin in? We tell someone who understands, yet not be affected. Let's, for the sake of this little scenario here, pretend that I am married to Mary. Mary and I are married. We've been married for 10 years. We've been married for 10 minutes. We've been married for 100 years, whatever it is. And Mary's brother, Sam, he is in a 12-step program. And Sam knows the big book, and he knows a lot about recovery and so on. Is Sam a good candidate for me to do step 5 with? Great for those who said no. Because Sam may understand, but because I'm married to his sister, he is going to be affected when he hears the resentments that I've had toward his sisters, or in some scenarios, harms I've done to his sisters. He is sister, not sisters, sister. He is going to be affected. So we choose someone who understands, yet will not be affected. Very important. It is inconsiderate to go to someone who knows people that we work with. I'll cover the work thing in just a second too. Same thing. And they're gonna know some of the people on my resentment list. Let's just say, for example, forget about me and Mary being married and Sam, all that. Me and Jack, we work together. We work at the same company. We work at ABC Company in Niles, Illinois. We work at ABC in Niles. And we've worked together for years. We worked together for years. He's a great guy, and he works a heck of a program. Is he a person that I should be doing my fifth step with? Absolutely not. He's going to know some of the people that I have harmed or that I have resentments towards. He may know some of the people that he considers to be his friends, and yet there I am telling him I resent these people. So you can you can easily see that we go to somebody who knows the program, yet be unaffected. Very important. We do not have the right to dump anything in someone's lap that is going to hurt them. Okay. Let's continue. We're on page 74, bottom paragraph of that page. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be one is so situated there is no suitable person available. Very unlikely now because of Zoom and free long distance. When I was a kid, in order to make a long distance call, you couldn't make it yourself. You had to call the long distance operator. I remember that when I was a kid. And you had to stay off the phone. You know, if anybody calls, tell them we're waiting for the long distance operator, you know? And so you had to sort of clear that line, and, you know, you could make a call person to person, or you could make a call. There were different ways to make the call, you know? But today you pick up the phone, you don't even think about it. You call, you know, the moon, or you call Jupiter, or, you know, whatever. You don't even think about it anymore. Especially with WhatsApp. That's right, WhatsApp. All right, if there may be no suitable person available. If that is so, this step may be postponed only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity. Now, I'm not one to give you advice, but I'm going to tell you what doesn't work for me. You can take what you want and you can leave the rest. God bless all of you. It does not work for me to delay this because I think that person X is going to be the perfect person to do my fifth step with. X, he is or she is the greatest person to do a fifth step since Bill Wilson. You know what? Get it done. Get it done. Don't delay it. Get it freaking done. Because the faster you move through, the less likely you are to pick up food, and the better off you're going to be. Let's continue. Bottom of 74. We say this because we are very anxious that we talk to the right person. You know, don't be so picky. It is important that he be able to keep a confidence. That's important. That he fully understand and approve of what we're driving at, very important, and that he will not try to change our plan, but we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. I don't like to disparage my friends. I love my friends. I think they're wonderful. I shudder to think where I would be today without my friends, but yet they cannot understand what I'm doing here this morning. Why am I not out doing whatever? You're already losing weight. You're on your diet. Why do you have to do all these? Why do you have to go to these places and do all these things and go to meetings? They just don't get it. It's just beyond their and my friends are not stupid. Let me tell you something. My friends are very highly successful. Most of them are very highly successful people. When we decide who is to hear our story, I'm at near the top of 75, first paragraph. We waste no time. Again, we waste no time. We have a written inventory and we are prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we are about to do and why we have to do it. We should realize that we are engaged upon a life and death errand. Very important. If we don't do this, we're flirting with the food. We're flirting with death. For me, to eat is to die. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence. Now, the next paragraph is the fifth step promises. These are some of the most eloquent, overlooked, beautiful, profound promises in the book. And if you have these promises in your life, you are very glad you have them. And I have them, and I wish them for everybody here and everybody that's not here, too. Here are the fifth step promises on page 75. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. I felt so alone in the food. I felt alienated. I looked at the world through a fence that was 1,000,000 miles away from where you were living if you were normal. The things that passed me by passed so quickly, I couldn't even catch them or conceive of them. Today, with the help of this step, with the help of God, with the help of everyone in this program, but mostly my God, I feel a part of life at last. Yeah, last year was a tough year for me. Oh boy, a lot of loss last year. And I feel that loss every day. I told you that on February 2nd, 1979, I came to my very first meeting of OA. The woman who dragged me by the neck, by the ear, and sat with me that night was 93 years old and passed away last June. She was as much like a mother to me as there is in the world. She looked after me after my parents died. She looked after me when my parents were dying. She came with me to the oncologist when my dad was dying of cancer. I had a lot of loss last year. And I feel like I can still live my life. I feel a part of life because I am a part of life. I am no different than you. I may be different from them who do not have this disease, but today I do not have to hold them in contempt. I do not have to hold myself in contempt because I'm too stupid to stick on a diet. I realize now that God is holding my hand. That's a lot to know. That's a lot to know. And I do know this. I have had, like you, ups and downs and sideways. I've had it all, and so have you. So have we all. That's part of being alive. But I know I'm going to live right now until I die. I'm going to heed the warning of the concentration camp survivors that held my face in their hands when I was a little boy, and they would say to me in Yiddish, live until you die. Live until you die. I can do that today because of a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, because of a program called Overeaters Anonymous, a loving God, and a wonderful, loving fellowship of people like you. Let's continue. This is instructions now, and this is the hour that you take. Returning home, this is from the talk, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour. That doesn't mean that you play the television, doesn't mean that you blast the music, whatever it is, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know him better. Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything. For we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? Bill loves construction metaphors, and this is one of his most beautiful works. We're going to go home for an hour after our 5th step. We're going to review what we have done. And that doesn't mean the TV is on. That doesn't mean the radio is on or the iTunes or whatever it is. We're going to be quiet for an hour. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy, but we're going to do it for an hour. You've done tougher things in your life. Let's go to the top of page 76. If we can answer to our satisfaction when we look at, if we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look, see, I need a little review here reading. We then look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Can he now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. Anytime you see the word ask in the big book, it is prayer. I want you to be very cognizant of that. When we say, he says, we ask God to help us be willing by asking God, please help me be willing to let go of these defects of character. That is prayer. Now, I don't want to parent over your sponsor or sponsor over your sponsors, but I'm going to tell you, here's what it does not say in that paragraph. You need to do a bunch of written assignments for step 6. Doesn't say that. Doesn't say you need to go read Drop the Rock. You can go read it if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with any of this. But what it simply says is you've done your 5th step. You've looked at the way your 5 character defects, selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, resentment, and fear, have manifested to harm yourself and harm those closest to you. Your defects have wreaked havoc on the people in your life. Do you want to continue that? Gosh, I hope not. So in other words, now you cannot overcome this on your own. You're going to ask God to help you be willing. Okay? Now, I'm not saying to please in the Q&A or don't, be calling me. You told me I can't read Drop the Rock. I never said that. Never said that. What I'm saying is the instructions to do written assignments and ancillary readings are not in there. Get through the steps as quickly as you can. You've got the rest of your life to do a deep dive. You've got the rest of your life, if you want to read other things and do other things, to go do them and read them. My strong suggestion is do what the book says. There's a new one. I'm suggesting we do what the book says. Have I ever done that before? Gosh, I hope so. Get to step 7 now. When ready. It shouldn't be more than 30 seconds. When ready, not in a week, not in 3 days, not in a month. When ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have completed step 7. Did he talk about a written assignment? No. Did he talk about ancillary readings? No. Did he talk about taking a week between steps 6 and 7? No. Quick, andale, schnell. Quick, andale, schnell. You want to get through as quickly as you can. Okay? So if you'll notice, on step 3, the prayer does not end in amen. The prayer does not end in amen. This prayer ends in amen because the inventory process is not just step 3, 4. It is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but yet 8 and 9 are part of cleaning up the past. But this inventory process is a longer process than just 3, 4, 5. That's why at the end of step 3 prayer, no amen. End of step 7 prayer, amen. Let's continue. Now we're going to do 8 and 9. Very important that we move quickly. If 6 and 7 take more than about 1 minute, you're probably doing them incorrectly. I'm going to say that again because I can see some of your faces. You're going, what? What did he say? If you have more than a minute to do steps 6 and 7, you're probably doing them incorrectly. It is a very simple thing. You look at your inventory, you look at your thing, you look at your inventory, you see the destructive patterns. Do you want to be rid of them? Yes or no? If no, then there may be something wrong with you. You really want to go out and continue hurting people? I hope not. I hope you're not that mean. But the bottom line is very quick. Okay, middle of 76. Now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Somebody that I adored once said to me, works without faith is also dead. So yeah, faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we first took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris, excuse me, which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask, pray. Every time it says ask, you're engaging in prayer. We ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any length for victory over alcohol. So, step 8, very simple. A list of people you've harmed. There are people on your 4th step that should be 99% of what goes on your 8th step. That's why I discourage you. Don't burn your 4th step. How are you going to do step 8 if you burned your 4th step? How are you going to get a list of people you've harmed if you burn the thing? Don't do that. Don't do that. So take your 4th step and see, who did you hurt? Look at the 4th column. Did you have a part in this resentment? Did you hurt this person? Put them down on your 8th step. Now, there may be people from your fourth step, from your 4th step that you hurt that are not on the 4th step. I said that wrong. There may be people in your life that you did not put on the 4th step. You don't resent them, you don't fear them, but you did hurt them in some way. Put them down. Now, what I also want you to put down is, what did you do to these people? Because I see from the 5th steps, I've taken hundreds of them. People either blame themselves for everything, including the Kennedy assassination, the development of COVID, the AIDS epidemic. They blame themselves for everything, or they blame themselves for nothing, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Okay? So when you put someone down, I harmed Joe, I harmed Mo, Larry, Curly, whoever it is, I harmed them. What did you do to them? Because you got to have an answer for that. Because next week, when we start on step 9, I'm going to remind you of something I'm telling you today. We do not use the 9th step for anything other than what it was intended for. And what was it intended for? It was intended to repair the damage we've done in the past, to amend. Amend is AA language. Restitution is Oxford Group language. I like amend better because I'm more familiar with AA than I am the Oxford Group, but it's very important that we see that we're here to amend. What is it? We don't apologize to the Constitution. We amend the Constitution. What does that mean? We change it. We change it. We're not here to resurrect old relationships. We're not here to see if Fred likes us. We're not here because Larry once said he doesn't want to be friends with me, and now I'm going to go to him and make amends because I want to be friends with him. That is not what we're doing here. We're making amends. We're not using it to try to rekindle any type of relationship, okay? So it's very important. Now, we have these instructions, and they're very, very clear. 8th step is a written assignment. List the people or institutions you've harmed. A lot of people in OA, AA, NA, GA have engaged in behaviors after getting sober or after getting, recovered, like shoplifting, sex addiction, love addiction, whatever that might be. Shoplifting is a huge one. Shoplifting is and overspending. For whatever reason, there are a lot of people in OA that used money buying things to try to fill the hole that the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches used to fill, that the food used to fill. So we engage in behaviors like spending and shoplifting and all these other ones. We need to take a look at that stuff and see if there's an institution, or maybe we shoplifted from Fred's grocery store or Mary's drugstore, whatever it is. We need to go make amends. We're going to cover next week what to do if these people are dead or the place isn't there anymore. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about when to make amends and when not to make amends. We're going to talk about those differences. If you come next week, we're going to have a good discussion on step 9, and we're going to talk about those various things. Okay. What I would like to do, we're about a minute early, really, but what I'd like to do is I don't want to start the next paragraph with a minute to go. That I'm not doing. So I'm just going to mark down page 76. Probably there are, and I'd like to start Q&A. And what I'd like to do is thank you